Sir, I believe you've already watched the film. So I wanted to ask you, what makes this film special? And what is your reason to support it?
Well, I bet everybody who watched this trailer felt that lump rise up their throats when the girl asks, "Why don't you tell us?" In this age and time when it is getting impossible to find out what is true and what is a lie, we're living in an age called the post-truth age. Fake news is a reality. The responsibilities of brave, audacious, honest filmmakers to go there on the ground, pluck out stories from the hearts of the people who live there, and then, with great responsibility, with great dedication, give expression to what is playing out in your backyard. The child asks, "Why don't you tell us?" Isn't this what we all are asking? Why don't you tell us? How do we run our lives when you don't have one single source through which you will get what is anything close to the truth? Storytellers, filmmakers have been the torchlights. They have been the source of inspiration. They have instilled hope. They have shown the direction to a lost society. Recently, we all saw what happened in Christchurch. 49 people were massacred. And it was a crafted for social media event. The internet was a platform. Everybody in every part of the world prostrated before that unit which came into their homes and started distributing it. Terrible times. And then it's a tragedy that a film like No Father in Kashmir, a filmmaker who puts his film together has to run from pillar to post, beg people to get it through. What are we trying to do? In this age and time, is there anything called censorship? What is this picture saying? It is saying, I have the audacity to look at the truth. The greatest epic which mankind has been blessed with, the Mahabharata, came from the battle of Kurukshetra. In that moment of darkness, he who locks the eyes with the darkness discovers a light which Ashwin has discovered in this movie. And I think that light is very important to reach the people. So it is this that makes me stand here, applaud this filmmaker, and say, India is safe as long as filmmakers like this are alive. The humankind is safe as long as filmmakers like him are alive. Otherwise, we belong to the dream factory. We are going to numb your mind with senseless entertainment and say, God is in heaven and all is well with the world. Here comes a filmmaker who jolts you and says, get up, this is your life, this is the world, look at it. So I come to applaud his spirit, and I request and I urge the media to support that spirit, because it is not Ashwin, it is you, it is me, it is the future of our children, it is the future of the children of our children. Let us dedicate ourselves to the voices which are free, which have the guts to stand up and say, we will not say things that you want us to say, we will say things as we see them. We are human beings, we have an independent vision, and we will say things our way. That is the founding fathers' gift to us. This great country has given us the right to express ourselves the way we think is right for us. Let us fight for it, and I think a fight for this picture is to fight to preserve that.
Thank you so much, sir. I don't think anybody could have articulated it better than you did, especially keeping this kind of a topic in mind. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I'd now like to call on Ashwin, of course, the director of the film, along with Soni ji and Anshuman. I'm going to ask you two questions. First, on the poster outside I saw finally releasing 5th April. What's the story behind that? That's my first question. And the second question is if you could give all of us a little bit of an insight as to why this film.
Well, finally behind that, I think nobody could have articulated it better than you've just heard, Bhatt Saab. But we have struggled very hard against censorship. The problem in our country, unfortunately, is that before a screenwriter puts pen on paper, his first thought is not for his character, but is of the Film Censor Board. And this is the biggest tragedy that I think that, I mean, we talked about our founding fathers. I think they'd be turning in their graves right now if they knew that this is the condition of what Article 19 has been brought down to in our Constitution, which guarantees freedom of expression and thought. And what are they trying to, what are they objecting to? They're objecting to the fact, and it is a very unfortunate fact, they are objecting to the fact that the armed forces of our country need to be protected by the Indian Film Censor Board. The world's largest standing army needs the Indian Film Censor Board as spokesperson for it, because they are not able to tolerate the few mishaps that have happened under their watch, which unfortunately has dragged the spotlight away from a film which is about compassion, a film which is about empathy, a film which could not have been more gentle and tender in its critique of our institutions, whether it is the armed forces, or it's the government of India, or in fact it's anybody. We live in intolerant, troubled times. And both these words joined together are what has caused us to think 6 times before we say anything, for filmmakers to censor themselves before they make their films, for writers not to write things, and for journalists who are outspoken to be gunned down in broad daylight. This is the tragedy of our country today. And what finally really means is that I made my application to Film Censor Board on the 15th of July. Today we are sitting, 15th of July 2018 is when I made my application to the Indian Film Censor Board. Today we are sitting in March of 2019, and I still do not have a film censor certificate. The FCAT ordered the CBFC to give us a film censor certificate, but they still have had some problems. They found some technicality upon which they have objected and sent the file back to the FCAT. Now this is the 3rd time it's going back to FCAT. So it went from Censor Board to FCAT, FCAT back to Censor Board back to FCAT, now FCAT back to Censor Board when they ordered it, and now we are back from Censor Board to FCAT. I'm confusing myself, frankly, in this whole combination. I mean, it's ridiculous. So that's why there was a sigh of relief when we thought that we've got our certificate. You know, maybe we've preempted this whole thing. We shouldn't have really announced because we don't know, you know, till that piece of paper. And the irony of this is, of course, that I can run my film on YouTube today without anybody objecting. What do you say? What's your second question? Sorry.
I think the passion with which you've spoken obviously reflects the amount of time and effort that has gone into getting this even till here. And I hope, as I hope everybody does, that free speech and freedom of expression is not clamped down and this film gets to see the light of day finally, and you get that piece of paper in your hand.
You asked me why this film. Yes, okay. Well, the reason I made this film, it didn't actually occur to me till I actually had finished making it. I think the Kashmir issue, we are sitting on a tinderbox, as we know, with 2 nuclear armed nations facing each other, and Pulwama only showed us how fragile this alleged peace is. Kashmir issue is not going to be solved by the bureaucrats in either Kashmir nor the separatists. I beg your pardon, the bureaucrats in New Delhi nor the separatists in Kashmir. Nor is it going to be solved by the kids who are throwing stones and picking up guns and causing dastardly acts like Pulwama. They are too trapped in their own histories. They haven't had the opportunities and the choices that young people have in the rest of the country. The Kashmir issue will be solved by young people of today, the millennials, who are sitting in our schools and colleges and who are the first time they've gone for jobs in their 20s, early 30s. Because these people are not carrying the traumas of partition, nor are they carrying the burdens and the prejudices of their parents' and grandparents' generation. These kids have, this is the biggest opportunity we have as a country today. They have relatively open minds, notwithstanding Arnab Goswami, who is poisonous and his whole ilk is poisonous. But notwithstanding the 24/7 barrage we get on television today, these are people who have relatively open minds, who can, if provided a narrative of compassion and empathy, which is what my film tries to do, try and ask a very simple question. वहाँ पे कैसे रहते हैं? It's a very simple question. What are they like? What are Kashmiris like? And the fact that we have to sit in India and ask, what are Kashmiris like, as if we are asking about an alien from another planet, shows how little information and how much government propaganda and media wash has alienated the populations of this grand nation with one of its most troubled and fragile parts. One of the parts which is a minority and also is contiguous borders with two of the most hostile nations towards us today. The flawed government policies that have brought us to this point, which have led us to alienating this entire nation, where children of 20 years old put bombs in a car and drive it into a convoy of buses and massacre people. What have we brought them to? And the young people of today are the ones who can get up and ask the question, and I urge them, please go to Kashmir. Don't go to this Gulmarg and Pahalgam and do this boating and pony riding, but go into their villages. Speak to the people like I have. They are very warm, gracious, welcoming and hospitable. And understand. If not that, just watch my film.
Thank you for that, Ashwin. Okay. Soni ji, let me start off by saying it's always such a delight to see you act on screen. I would like to know a little bit about your character in the film, and specifically to you, why this film?
So I play a woman whose son has seemingly vanished into thin air, and so she's one of the people, many people in Kashmir whose sons have disappeared. Why I wanted to do this film, or why this film? So Ashwin is very kind to share the film with me, the script with me, even before he cast me, and even offered to cast me. That's another story. But when I read the film, the first thought that came to my mind is, oh my God, here is a man who knows Kashmir like nobody else that I've ever come across before. We've made so many films on Kashmir. And some of them have been wonderful films, but they've always been sort of, peppered with or sort of checkered with a lot of other things and, issues and, action or drama or love story or whatever. But here, I think, was a very simple film that I read, which talked about the real Kashmir. The people in Kashmir who are not leading dramatic lives. They're not in the forefront. They're not in politics. They're not on Twitter every day. But they live in the villages. They don't have a voice. They have a lot of heartbreak that they've gone through. And here is a film that speaks about their lives and them. And so this is why I felt that this film is so important that come what may, I would of course love to be a part of it, but even otherwise, this is a very important film that needs to be made. And hats off to Ashwin for bringing. Also, it's a film which is not very, you see the trailer and you think, oh, it's a very serious film. It's a wonderfully humorous film, apart from all the, other things in it. It is also a love story. So it's so many things, and it really deserves to get the censor certificate and be watched by people. The other thing I feel very strongly about is about reality, truth, and facts. Truth has many faces. Your truth is different to my truth. But reality and facts they exist. You can't wish them away, no matter what you do. So my feeling is if we can have discussions and debates in Parliament, on television, here, there, everywhere, books come out about reality, about the reality of Kashmir particularly. Why can't we have films on that? I'm a great believer in the healing power of truth. And I feel the people of Kashmir really deserve that in their lives today. They deserve acknowledgement of what they've gone through. They deserve to be understood. They deserve to be healed. And one of the ways we can do this, apart from what, government outreach programs and all kinds of other things, one of the ways we can do this is through cinema. So this is that. That is also why I feel this film is so, so important. And I pray that things go well for it as it goes along.
Thank you. I think that statement, the healing power of truth, is what encompasses this film. Anshuman, so we've all seen your growth in your career, starting from your debut in a cult film like LSD to the recent Angrezi Mein Kehte Hain, where you play a young, charming boy in love. In this film, however, No Fathers in Kashmir, you play the role of an army major. What was it about this role and this film that appealed to you and convinced you to sort of be a part of it?
Firstly, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. What's up? You inspire. Thank you for being you. The man on my right is the reason I was grateful to him. I have a lot of respect and regard for him as a maker. I'm a huge fan of his film Little Terrorist, which went to the Academy Award. It was nominated. And I think we as a nation don't sometimes pay attention to the finer details. He was the youngest man to be nominated from India at the Oscars. I think we should just take a step back and make light of that truth, like ma'am said, and pay attention to the detailing his cinema has offered about the region. Coming to the region, he offered me a role which my gurus all my life have told me to go away from the trend as an actor, and that's where the magic lies. It's very easy to stand here and say, "How's Josh? Hi, sir." It's easy, I can do that. Anybody can do that, any actor worth his salt. But to see the grey side of... Everything has a grey side. There's a black and white to everything. Here's a filmmaker who's trying to tell you that there are greys in the region which we need to pay attention to and which we need to know about. We have the right to know about. We should know about. When I shot in Kashmir one day, it's a small anecdote. I walked out in costume and the line producer told me, "Sir, bahar mat jaiye, koi patthar phek dega." And I was aghast. I was like, if I'm wearing an Indian Army's costume, why will people... it's a very small thing, but it just gave me perspective about so many things which I had never thought of. And even as an actor, it was... Yeah, so I'm really grateful to him, and I always will be, because I have a lot of love and regard for him as a filmmaker. And this film will always be special for me from that point of view. Also, he's an actor, and he's making his debut here, let's not forget. And he's done a really solid performance. I enjoy... Film is a director's medium, but it's amazing to have a director who has a sense of the craft of acting. And when you'll see this film, you'll realize why he manages to take out the performances that he does, because he himself is so good at it. Having said that, the child in me is a huge fan of Kulbhushan Kharbanda and Soni Razdan, so the moment I knew that they are in the film, I wanted to go there.
Thank you, Anshuman, for that. Maya, hi. So in the trailer, we see you say this line, "Unhe pick up kara diya gaya hai," and to which the protagonist replies or asks you a question, "What is picked up?" Seems like that little innocent reply that she sort of gives you at that point in time. In that lies a very pertinent question, right? How did you come about doing this film, and what, according to you, is the key takeaway for in No Fathers in Kashmir?
I came about doing this film because Ashwin kindly sent me the script. I read the script and I said yes. It was very simple. This is, I think, the key takeaway. Actually, that's interesting that you phrase it like that, because for me it was very clear that this is a film and indeed a place that is bound in so much politics and so much grey politics, right? In the phrase as well, what does picked up mean? It's not just her question, right? It's a lot of people who don't know. I feel like we live in a day and age where we know more about, I don't know, the West. We know more about what's happening in Brexit, for example, than we know about, like somebody said, our own backyard. So for me, what the key takeaway was that this is a film, although it's so bound in all of this politics, it is not about it. It is a film that is so deeply empathetic, that shows you what life really is like. Not what you hear in the media, not the headlines, not who bombed whom and who is on whose side, and not numbers. Do you know, not numbers of how many died and how many survived. This is real. And the character that I play is real. She is based on a person by the same name. And there are so many like her. And even for somebody like me that knows a little bit, but it was eye-opening. It was a world that I had no idea. I still have no idea how we are living in a world where so many people live the way they do. And that's all. It's just much, much more than what we get to see. And we should, like Ashwin said, we should be doing more, seeing more, talking more, and watching more, making more films like this.
Thank you for that. Okay, I am going to take a step back now, and now the media, I'm going to open the floor to the media to ask them any questions that you'd like.